Hey gang, welcome to our online year-end worship experience. My name is John, and to my left is the better half, the queen bee herself, Amber Herron. Thanks for being on this video message.
You're welcome.
So we've all gotten past Christmas. We have eggnog hangovers. And this has been an amazing year for the Life Church family. 2019 is winding down to the end, and we just thought it would be fun to take a few moments together to look back, to reflect on where we've been, and then dream ahead into the year 2020. Doesn't that sound like a good deal?
Yeah, sounds like a great year.
So get your hot cocoa, snuggle up with some friends, as Amber and I share about the year that was at Life Church. So Amber, when you think about the past year, if you had to sum it up, like in a word or in a phrase, what was 2019 in the life of Life Church?
I'd say when I think about 2019, I think of three words come to mind: transition, growth, and volunteer driven. So we had a lot of different transitions throughout the year, with adding campuses, moving campus locations, some staff transitions, things like that. And then we also saw growth, both in number, in depth, and I think that people were stepping up because with new campuses and different roles coming, that we needed to have growth in roles and maturity and serving others, and then of course growth with having people come out. We were recognized as the 11th fastest growing church in the country, and so that was an exciting thing to have happen. And then volunteer driven with the increased numbers and with the transitions and all that kind of stuff, it required us to become more and more volunteer driven, which was exciting for me as a volunteer myself, but also just locking arms with other volunteers to see people rising up to the needs and filling up the gaps that we had to be able to continue to effectively serve and reach our community. So
Yeah, we have amazing men and women and students who volunteer, once a month, or there's some lifers that serve every week. And I just go, wow. That fires me up. If I'm having a low energy day, I look over at someone who's worked a full schedule their entire week,
right.
and they make the effort to show up. They're prayed up, prepared, punctual, and that gets me fired up. So I am blown away by the strength of our volunteer culture and the sacrifices that are made by our lifers.
When I wouldn't necessarily even say sacrifice, but just the level of commitment that we see. We truly could not offer what we offer to families and students and adults if it weren't for the commitment level of our amazing Life Church family. So,
And you know what's wild, Hun, is that we've been on this journey for 6-7 years. Well, really for us it's been longer, because starting the church there was a lot of prep work for about 1 or 2 years before we started public worship. And I just remember at the beginning it just being you and me, and it was overwhelming to think, how are we going to serve kids and families, and none of us sing, none of us play guitar. So I just have a deep appreciation now for all of our lifers, for the people who are committed to the church and to the vision.
Right.
So I don't know if you have any thoughts or insights on just that journey of starting at ground zero, nothing, and now God has built this beautiful, messy family of lifers. That's kind of where my mind always goes, especially at the end of the year when I reflect on things.
Yeah, it's been interesting to take a look and see how we started on faith, and we had a picture in our mind of where we wanted to take things, and to see that that vision was, communicated to people, and they caught that and came alongside and joined in on it, and just more and more, almost like a flash mob. I don't know.
Yeah.
Where it just starts with like one or two people dancing, and then you look around and there's a whole crowd of people dancing around you, and that's kind of how I see it. Like, they caught the moves and the choreography, and they joined in, and now we have this amazing dance going on.
I like that.
Yeah.
I have never heard you share that before, but I love that imagery of a flash mob. If you don't know what a flash mob is, immediately after this video, do yourself a favor, Google it, YouTube it, because that is kind of what we do in Midland and Saginaw. Is
It's a dance.
God draws all these Michiganders to Life Church. We own the vision, and you're right. There's a rhythm. There's a dance. Some of us have mastered the moves, and some of us are kind of like in the back because we're not
two left feet.
Yeah, we're not as syncopated, but it's a beautiful, fun, exciting mess.
And there's always room for more.
Yeah, there's always room for more people, and you're making memory. I like that. I really like that. We should get t-shirts made that say, "We are the flash mob of Life Church." That would be so cool. Okay. So thinking ahead to the new year, we're just days away from 2020. And in a few moments, I'm going to ask you about how do we go to the next level. And in particular, if you were going to give New Year's resolutions to me.
That's a dangerous question.
Yes, this is a dangerous topic. Cover the kids' ears. So I'll let you think about that for a minute. But as we look at 2020, I am just excited about the position we're in. We're a healthy, thriving church. We have just amazing people that call this place home. I think as hard as it was to land the plane with the Bay City facility and kind of bring everybody back together in Saginaw and Midland for this season, I think that there's wisdom because it gives folks a rest. There's not sideways energy, sideways dollars. It allows us to refocus on reaching the lost. And for me, the big idea for 2020 and beyond is, what would it look like to reach 1% of our region's population? What would it look like to reach, what is it, like 3,865 people, men, women, and children this year, over the next few years? How could we change our region for the better by impacting nearly 4,000 lives? That excites me. That's a challenge because that makes you start thinking through, how do we improve our environments on Sundays? How do we have a better discipleship process? And so that's kind of where my brain is at. But I'm sure if I ask you, you have a unique vantage point, not just the pastor's wife, but as one of the founders of the church. And if you were going to give New Year's resolutions to me, I'm nervous. What are some New Year's resolutions you would give me? You're kind of giving people a window into our world.
For the church?
No, for me.
For you personally?
Well, you could go with the church first if that's easier.
I think that it's been a wild year, and with all the transition and all that happening, and the growth, we've been just kind of hanging on. And, I know you've shared, it's been exhausting to a certain degree because we're trying to just keep things moving forward in a positive direction. And with all the growth, then there are lights shown on the areas that need more structure or systems put in place. And our growth our systems have not kept up with the growth. That's been a challenge, and I think that probably most of you have felt that as well, if you haven't shared it. So um, that's just the reality of where we're at.
I think you just spoke the elephant in the room.
It's exciting though, because systems are something that you can do. You can put in systems, you can research, you can learn, you can take care of that, but you can't force growth. So we already have the growth, and that's the part that comes from God. Now we need to steward that well, and put those systems into place. And I think that's what will help us to more effectively be able to reach that 1% that you're dreaming about for 2020. So I think that also, as far as resolutions for you, and maybe also the church in general, is that we need to work on taking that time to rest, and not it's hard to, in ministry there's always more work to be done. It's not finished until we're in heaven. And so that makes it challenging to take time and step back and just relax and rest, and just sometimes let things go. It's okay sometimes to let things go. And sometimes that's when some of you end up picking those things up, and maybe even more effectively, because that's where you're really gifted, instead of someone who's trying to do 20 things and it's not their wheelhouse. So I think that that's an area that we can really see some improvement and growth on in 2020, for you and others as well, to just step back, allow some rest, and maybe some things just have to drop for a season, and that's okay too. And then maybe some of you are going to be like, you know what, I'm passionate about XYZ. I would love to come alongside and provide that ministry to the church. So I think that's something that I would like to see for 2020, and I think that will positively impact all of us.
Yeah, no, I agree. Heading into January, I'm definitely looking forward to a number of things that we've been working on behind the scenes. One is we've asked an outside Christian organization to do a 360 to just help me to identify what areas I can improve on, what areas I need to let go of, like you were just saying, so that we can empower others. And so I'm looking forward to that process, because I just want to be a better pastor. I want to be a better leader. I'm excited that Christian Arndt will be back on staff right away, beginning of January. He's stepping out on faith to rejoin our team in a pastoral role, and it's a win-win. It allows our church family to love on Christian as he's going through a season of pruning and healing. And at the same time, Christian brings gifts to the table that are going to enhance our discipleship. He brings gifts that I don't have,
Right.
which is exciting, because that's going to improve and help other people. And so he'll be preaching every Sunday. We'll be able to rotate between Saginaw and Midland, and that's going to be fantastic. And then as far as you were just saying about taking a rest, we're working really hard to figure out how can we continue reaching the lost at any cost, and yet give the land some rest, as they talk about in the Old Testament. So, for example, we're looking at our 707 student ministry, and seeing how can we be more effective instead of every Wednesday night. What are some different options as far as other nights and frequency, so that when we do student ministry, it's very impactful. And then last but not least, I'm very excited about the future of our family ministries, of creating the best hour in a kid's week. And I know that's your heart, especially since we have skin in the game. When you think about our kids areas, as a mom, as a parent, as a leader here in the church, what do you hope for?
I think that we're doing an amazing job already, especially when you step back, and I was talking to somebody just this week, and she was amazed at, how many of the aspects of our family ministries are run by or prepared by pure volunteers. And it's astounding. And so I think we're doing a really great job, especially considering that it's almost completely volunteer driven, at least right now. So first of all, thank you to all of you who do commit that to make that part of the vision a reality. We certainly couldn't do it without you. And so I think we're doing a really great job. But we also have more and more people that do want to step up and get involved. And we have not had an opportunity to really equip them so far. So I would like to see more people being adequately equipped and prepared for their roles on Sunday mornings, so that they have the complete training, that they feel like they know exactly what's expected of them and how to carry that out on a Sunday morning for our children and babies. And so I'd like to see more of that put into place, and just a little more being able to engage some of the kids, particularly I think of some of the older elementary kids, just being able to engage with them more, to see that transition, maybe a little more intentionality in that transition as they're going to go from being, a fifth grader to, graduating into the student ministry program. It looks a little bit different. It becomes more of a relational ministry than a teaching ministry like you would with, say a preschooler. So I would like to see us maybe grow in that area.
So what I'm hearing is having a quarterback who can recruit new Life Kids workers, who can train. That's Ephesians 4, that we're here to equip and release the saints into ministry, and then someone who can champion to set up Sundays for success,
Right.
so that it's not a mad scramble. We don't scramble. No more scrambling.
Right. Right. So I always think of there's been a couple of times where I've had I've had more than a couple hourly jobs, but a couple of the hourly jobs that I've had where they do a schedule like a month in advance. And as an employee, and especially some of it was seasonal employee, as a seasonal part-time employee, I felt so valued and cared about just by that little detail, because then I could also plan the rest of my life around my work schedule. And so scrambling, I just think it's such a negative thing, when you're giving of your time, especially. So
Yeah. So in the new year, we want no more scrambling for volunteers. We're going to set volunteers up for success, so that we can be free to have fun and to connect with people, because
Right.
people are more important than programs.
Right.
That's why I'm excited that Sheila Wozni will be joining our team in a part-time role as Life Kids Director. Sheila is an amazing individual with 15 plus years experience as a kids director. She has the heart, the passion, the fire in the belly. She's very type A, very organized, loves people, but is not afraid to say, hey, you need to do this, you need to do that.
Be a leader.
Yes.
Which we've been missing that.
Absolutely.
For a while, I think.
And I think having Sheila coupled with our amazing leaders that are already in place, I think of interns and ministry coordinators who are killing it, with Sheila right there to champion the area. I mean, the sky is the limit in Midland, Saginaw, and beyond. And so we're very thrilled to have someone with the right heart and the right passion and the right experience and education to join the team in 2020. Exciting!
It is exciting.
Woo! And we've already told Sheila that she's empowered from day one. So she does not need to walk on eggshells. This is not about us. There's no turf wars, no ego. We just said, Sheila, if you need to make changes, do it. Whatever you need to create a successful best hour in a kid's week, to set our volunteers up for success, I said, you have my full backing. So don't you be talking back to Sheila, okay? If you've got questions or problems, you can ask me, and I'm going to say, well, what did Sheila say? Because we're going to go with what Sheila said, because she's the smartest one in the room. Okay? But no, we're thrilled for Sheila, Christian, and the whole crew. God has just put together the Avengers of the church world, I think.
Right. I feel like we're kind of just at a season where we've had some growth, and so now we're kind of rebuilding our foundation a little bit, or restructuring it. Maybe making some repairs in the cracks that have been exposed,
strengthening it.
And right. So then it's being strengthened, and once we are able to really strengthen that foundation, that's when we're going to be able to go out and see more and more growth. That's when, once we have that set up and solid, that's when we're going to be able to more effectively, reach Bay City again and continue reaching Midland and beyond. So
absolutely.
I think it's sort of like, slow and steady wins the race is what
Yes,
I think of.
The tortoise always wins.
If we're just rushing and rushing and rushing, it can be exciting and we might see some growth, but then if we don't have the time and the structures in place, then we end up backtracking a little bit. And so we're needing to just focus on getting that foundation really strong so that when we do have that growth and when we do go start some new initiatives and reaching new communities outside of Saginaw and Midland, then it will be lasting life change, not just temporary blips on someone's radar. And so we want to have that lasting presence and lasting growth.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see this foundation being laid for that result to happen.
Yes, we are putting health above everything else. We want to be a healthier church, healthier leaders, healthier organization.
And God will bless that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So grab your Bible really quick as we bring this in for a landing. Start searching for 2 Kings chapter 4, because as we close the book on 2019, we have so much to celebrate. 50 baptisms this year, which is incredible. We have over 200 professions of faith in Jesus Christ in 2019. Wow. Our Midland lifers have a goal. They want to reach the greater Midland area and outgrow our space in the mall so that we have to take over the old Yonkers.
That'd be awesome.
That's their mantra. And I'm like, dang, let's do it.
They're on the right track because we got voted the best place to worship in Midland.
I know.
By Midland people.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
And our Midland campus, man, they're just generous people. They're fired up. The sky's the limit there. And so 2 Kings chapter 4, I alluded to this a few weeks ago in a message. The prophet Elisha is walking through a land where there's famine, there's no food on the shelves, Meijer is closed. He ends up at the door of a widow who is on her last bit of olive oil, and then she says that she and her son will die. And so Elisha, a man of faith, steps into a space where there's not a lot of resources, and he says, bring me an empty jar. And when she brings the empty jar, Elisha blesses the jar, and suddenly it is full to overflowing with oil. And he says, bring me another empty jar, and another empty jar. And so long as the widow brought what she had, empty jars, God was able to fill it up and to multiply and to do the miracle. So when we bring what's natural, God will put his super on our natural. And so 2 Kings 4 would be my prayer for you this New Year's Eve, to enter the new year with empty jars. Wipe the slate clean. Don't even have a list of resolutions and agendas. Just be an empty vessel and say, God, whatever you want, I'm yours. And together we can see what God can do through you. So as we bring this in for a landing, do you have any last words that you'd like to say to the church family here?
I continue to be so thankful for all of you, for joining us on this crazy ride, for loving us through some of the challenges, for forgiving us when we screw up. And definitely, I very much feel and appreciate the support that you give to me and our family, and just the understanding that you give with all that I'm juggling. So I do really appreciate that, and I'm so excited to have you guys along with us, and I'm excited to see where we go in 2020.
And with that, we want to wish you the very best Happy New Year. We'll see you again this coming Sunday, January 5th, as we dive back into our 3-year teaching series, God with Us. We begin in 2 Samuel, which is where David finally ascends the throne in 2 Samuel, and I can't wait to dive into God with Us. You can catch up on our website, lifechurchmichigan.com. All the past messages in the God with Us series are there. But for now, on behalf of Amber and our family, Team Herron, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and in Christ, the best is yet to come.
See you in 2020.